Hey everybody, today I want to tell you about my first job after I graduated undergraduate. It was in the Dominican Republic and I worked in an orphanage of orphaned and abandoned children. So if you are interested in learning about the Dominican Republic or the DR and my experiences, that is what we will be talking about today. So hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Maya and this is Fly Like Me, PhD, and we talk about travel on this channel. I try to encourage Black women to travel or to move abroad. I have been to 45 countries and my birthday is in this month. Okay, August, Leo season is upon us. And if I am so fortunate, I will be in Bolivia in like 2 weeks, y'all, and I can be in country 46. So I really hope that I can come back at the end of August and tell you all that I was in country 46. So anyway, this video is specifically going to be talking about my experience in the Dominican Republic. So first, what I want y'all to know, in case you don't know this about me, is that I am a colorism scholar. My dissertation was on colorism and the impacts that skin tone bias had on African American girls in the school system. And so I am a colorism scholar. I am a racial scholar. This is what I do. This is what I talk about. And this is my particular interest. So I wanted to make this video for you because I wanted to let you know that the DR was the first time that I had so many experiences of colorism and was kind of my impetus to studying it and my understanding of it as a person who suffered from it daily. So let's start off with a definition. So the definition of colorism is that it is the preferential treatment of people possessing a lighter skin tone. So racism is going to be the mistreatment of all people from a specific racial group. So mistreating all Black people, mistreating all Asian people. But colorism would be within that racial group. There is going to be a preferential treatment towards people with a lighter skin tone. So people of Asian descent that are of lighter skin tone get treated better. And we can see that in terms of China, in terms of Japanese. Those people get treated better, specifically in the US, for example, than people from Vietnam or from the Philippines who have a more brown skin tone. And then in terms of Black people that are of lighter skin, we see them benefiting in the entertainment industry. That could be the music industry. That could be the movie industry, more so than people of a darker skin tone. So that is what colorism is. Colorism is a global phenomenon. I do not want you all to think that this only occurs in the US. This occurs in all countries, I'm not going to say all countries, but probably all countries, since white supremacy occurs in all countries, but like across the entire world, it is occurring. So we can see colorism in Asia, in particular, that people tend to have umbrellas, not just because the sun is hot, but because they do not want to get darker. And this is actually an experience of colorism that happened to me in the DR. Was I was walking down the street and it was pretty hot that day, maybe like 95 degrees. And one of the women in the orphanage was like, "You need to have an umbrella." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "You're dark enough." And so it was like pretty much she didn't want me to get darker and said I needed to have an umbrella. So that is the example of how people use umbrellas to not just shield themselves from the sun, but because they don't want to become darker. And that's occurring a lot in Asia. This can be seen a lot specifically in a place like China. Then in a place like India, fair skin is preferred, right? On the dating market, they're always looking for women that are fair skinned in India. They have shows that have talked about this person is fair and therefore that makes that person beautiful. Then we move to Africa. Africa is one of our leaders in terms of skin bleaching. When I was in Ghana and I was just looking for some lotion, then they pointed me to like the skin bleaching aisle and it was like lighter, brighter, whiter skin. And I was like, I just wanted lotion. I'm not trying to change my skin tone. Also, Nigeria is known for having a lot of skin bleaching as well. So these are acts of colorism. In Latin America is not innocent either. I just read something that said color or colorism is synonymous with race or racism in Latin America. So what does that mean? The racial categorizations that we have in the United States, we get those, or those have been constructed based on where our ancestors come from. So because my ancestors are from Africa, I would be identified as Black. Or because somebody's ancestors are from Asia, they would be identified in the US as Asian. Or because somebody's ancestors are from Europe, they would be identified as white. But these categorizations within Latin America are based on your skin color. So in Colombia, everyone is Colombian, which would be the racial categorization for them. But then if a person is lighter skinned, they would be categorized as a white Colombian. And if the person is darker skinned, they will be categorized as a Black Colombian. So there was actually a guy, because I lived in Colombia for an entire year, there was a guy that I was talking to, and I would identify him maybe as like brown skin, medium skin tone, and he's Colombian and looks nothing like a Black person at all. Maybe looks like mixed race, maybe like indigenous. And I was talking to him about racial categorizations, and he's like, yeah, I'm Black. And I was like, sir, I'm Black. Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, no, because my skin tone is dark, I'm Black. But his skin tone was brown. So that's an example of like how he would be categorized as Black, even though he was like an indigenous person. And there was a joke in Colombia. They would say that you work hard like a Black person to live like a white person, which is another act of racism, right? In a way that racism is continued or normalized or even a joke to people. They think it's funny, but it's not, because it is really showing the exploitation of Black people's labor, but yet Black people don't even benefit from that labor and white people do. And so in Colombia, I'm using that as an example because I lived in Colombia for an entire year. So I would notice things like this. There was another person that was Colombian and he was light skinned, but he said that he was white. And then he went on to move to the US, maybe for a program like he was in school. And he said that they didn't treat him like he was white. When he was in Colombia, he got treated like he was white. He got a lot of privileges. But when he moved to the US, all privileges stopped and they treated him like a Latin American person. So he was very confused that he couldn't get white privileges in the United States. So these are just examples of what I'm talking about when I am discussing colorism abroad. And I noticed in Colombia, there's a lot of light-skinned people in places that were like doing really well or thriving, such as like Bogota. But then the dark-skinned people are on the coast, and this is where enslaved people were first brought to Colombia and not receiving as many resources, such as a place like Choco. So that's what we're talking about today. We are going to talk about the Dominican Republic. Should you live or visit there as a Black American? So after I graduated, I decided to live in the Dominican Republic for 6 months because I was so excited. I had lived in Argentina before and Spain, and I felt kind of disconnected, right? I was like, these people don't look like me at all. I am really ready to go somewhere and speak Spanish with people that look just like me. So the DR felt like the perfect place. I was super excited, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to go. And I quickly learned about colorism and anti-Blackness in a way I have never experienced it before and may not ever experience again. And it was actually really sad to my young self. I was only 21 at the time, so it was actually very devastating. In the orphanage, they teased me every other day for my hair. And I wished at some points that I couldn't even speak Spanish because the things they said to me were so hurtful. And I wish that I didn't go natural when I was in the DR, because before that I had wore a lot of weaves or extensions because I would identify my hair as very kinky, as like a 4C, very tight hair. You can look at my other videos to see that I normally wear my hair in an afro. And so I had decided after I graduated from the University of Michigan to go natural. So then I was out here wearing my natural hair, and I was being teased and bullied all of the time because of it. And so I was like, of all the times to go natural, this was not the time, but I didn't know that. So I cried for 3 months straight because I refused to straighten my hair. I refused to put a weave in. I refused to change it in any way because I'm like, this is my hair. This is how it grows naturally from my head. I'm not going to change it because of you. I also have a friend who is from Nigeria. She's Nigerian American, and she told me that every time she goes to Nigeria, she would wear her natural hair with her family, and they would beg her to change her hair all the time. They did that so much so that after a few weeks of being there, she was like, fine, I'll compromise and get braids. So then she had like long braids, so like it looked like long hair, but still like a style that is signature to Blackness by having braids, so she didn't get straight hair. But it was just the fact she felt pressure by her own Nigerian family to change the hair. So I want you all to know, I'm going to have a conversation with you all at the end about like healing from texturism, because that has been like a very difficult process for me throughout the life. And it still is hard because I'm not even living in the DR. I live in California. And just a month ago, someone that I actually value and that I love said that my hair was ugly, and like doubled down on that multiple times. Like I had gone swimming, my hair was in a fro, my hair was like laying down, but not like in a straight way, you know, like hair was wet and it was kind of like spiky and all over the place. And this person told me numerous times that my hair was ugly. So I just want you to know that it's not just being in the DR where people believe that my hair is ugly. It's like a global thing, and it's a piece of anti-Blackness that has been super hurtful for me. So what I'm doing is I'm on my healing journey to appreciate and to love my hair when I've been told since I was a kid. When I went to the beauty supply, they were like, not beauty supply, sorry, to the beautician to get my hair done. They were like, oh God, we hate every time she comes here. She cries all the time because they had to do so much work to get my hair to be like more assimilated. And they were just like, we don't like her hair at all. And I've been told my hair is ugly, that it's unattractive. I've never been complimented on my hair texture in my entire life. Like someone saying, I like your hair texture. It never has happened to me ever. And people only tend to like my hair if it is styled. So like, I like your braids. I like the style of your locks, but like my hair naturally never has been a thing that people have told me that that was attractive. So in order to work on myself and to be on my healing journey, I am going to have a live that is about texturism with a few other Black women that kind of have a similar skin tone as me, kind of similar hair texture. And we're going to talk about how we heal from texturism. That is going to be next month in September. So look out for that. As you all know, I'm going to post on my page when that will be coming out so you can be prepared and be notified. All right. So now we're going to talk about the Dominican Republic. I want to let you know that this was in 2012. Okay. 2012 was when all of these things occurred. Maybe the DR is better now. I wouldn't hope that because I went back 7 years later and it was the same issue, but this was in 2012. So first of all, I was the only Black volunteer. All of the other volunteers were from Germany. They were from Spain. They were from the US. They were Latina. I was the only Black person. So that was a major issue. We're going to talk about both colorism and racism in the DR. And this is an act of racism. The guy that was the owner or like over the entire orphanage was a white man from Ireland. And then all of the volunteers were white, Latin, and I was the only Black person. So then you have a bunch of white people in charge of a bunch of Black people. Racism. Okay, so to continue on with the racism, I went out with the volunteers, the white volunteers, and we went dancing specifically to a place that was like a club. I would say I'm like a good dancer, obviously have rhythm, could make a man look real good in a partner dance. I'm not going to say I'm the best dancer in the whole wide world, but I definitely was killing it more than these white girls. And the Dominican men all chose the white girls to dance with, and no one chose to dance with me the entire time. My friend, who we will call George, he was there with me, and he was like, Maya, I would dance with you. George is from Spain. I would dance with you, but I'm not a good dancer, which is true. George had 2 left feet. He wasn't going to be a good dancer. That's okay. But it was just an act of racism that was so hurtful to me, because I actually am a good dancer. I wanted to go there. Anyone that knows me knows that I live my life in the club. Like, what are we saying? And none of the Dominican men would dance with me because I was black, but they would go out and dance with all these white girls. They were not on rhythm, on beat, 2 left feet, didn't care. They chose them consistently over me. So then we would go to something called the Batey, which was like a neighborhood. And there was a Dominican man that kind of like owned a piece of land that he had turned into like a dance area. He also had drinks there. Like, he got his little license to have his drinks. So like, he had his little area, kind of like a bodega, but it also had a like dancing area. And so me and the white volunteers, we would go. There would be like 50 Dominican men that would come out, be dancing with us all night, buying people drinks, whatever. And so one time, me and George from Spain, we went to the Batey, and it was just him and I, and none of the Dominican men came out. None of them came to dance or check out the scene. There was no music. So it was me, it was George, and it was the owner, right? So me, because I'm black, nobody was interested in dancing or even seeing what was going on with me, the Dominican men. And then George is a man, so I guess they weren't interested in talking to him either. So it was just the 3 of us. That was another act of racism. In addition, I used to be bullied by the white volunteers. They would gang up on me. For example, there was one time that I got into an argument with one woman from Germany, and then the other white women from the US started arguing with me too. So it was like 3 of them arguing with me all by myself. I was like crying, and one of the guys from Germany, like removed me from the entire situation. But I definitely got bullied by them a lot in terms of racism. And the biggest issue of racism was they started a rumor that I was sleeping with one of the volunteers in the orphanage, and they told everybody that. And at that moment, it was like time for me to go. So what we had was, in that orphanage, there was a volunteer house where all of us lived in the same house together. And after they started that rumor, then I completely moved out of the house altogether. So it was like stuff like that. And then they would blame me as the reason that I moved out, but no recognition of how they had bullied me. Also, they were racist towards the kids. I remember one time they told me, and it's like really ironic because my birthday is coming up in like 2 weeks, but they had told me, they were like, oh, Maya, one of the kids has the same birthday as you. I was like, okay, which kid? Because there was like 200 kids in the orphanage. And they said the darkest one in the orphanage. And I was like super confused, because I'm like, girl, we're all dark. Like, what are you talking about? So when I finally figured out who the person was, I would say that this kid, he had the same skin tone as like Viola Davis or like Wesley Snipes. And so it was just like a more richer, darker skin tone, like skin tones that we find more common in Africa than we do in the US because of racial mixing in the US. And yeah, they were like, that dude was the darkest. And I was like, I can't believe that they just thought that that was okay to say. And then they would tell the kids that they were stinking all the time. They were like, oh my God, you stink. Huele mal. Like, you need to take a shower. Another thing that I think is an act of racism, because just historically, Black people not smelling good or Black people stinking is a stereotype that we often have to combat. So these were the acts of racism that I had experienced in the DR. I also had mentioned to you all that colorism is a global phenomenon. I mentioned Asia, I mentioned Africa, I mentioned Latin America, but I failed to mention like the Caribbean, and I failed to mention the United States. So in the Caribbean, also a place like Jamaica, where we have people that have darker skin tones. Obviously, people with lighter skin tones would be preferred in that situation. And I do believe that skin bleaching is a thing in Jamaica as well. So the Caribbean, and obviously I'm talking about the Dominican Republic, which is in the Caribbean as well, and their issues with colorism, so we know that's a thing. I did not mention the colorism that is experienced in the United States. So in the United States, during slavery, we know that a lot of enslaved Africans were brought to the United States, and the inception of colorism was during that time. There were white masters that sexually exploited enslaved African women and had mixed race children that tended to be light skinned. And as a result of these children being related to the masters and being light skinned, they were preferred. This population had the opportunity of working within the house rather than working in the fields. But in working in the house, those people face more harassment and more brutality than the people in the fields. And they also could learn a skill or a trade. During slavery, it was illegal for enslaved people to learn how to read, but some of the people that were light skinned were taught how to read or taught a trade by their masters. Like, that's how they could get around it, was they were related to the masters. So they were privileged in the fact that they were able to learn some of these skills and trades or have apprenticeships. And during Reconstruction, after slavery was abolished, then light-skinned people started to distance themselves from dark-skinned people. You can see people like W.E.B. Du Bois, who had the talented 10th, which were mainly mixed race light-skinned people, and only one of those people was monoly racially black, but most of them were going to be mixed race. And he believed that these were the people that could lead black people to prove that we were good people, or that black people were not just horrible people. They were more educated, but they had to be mixed race, obviously. He didn't say that, but we know now that they were mixed race. Okay. So I want to go back to the Dominican Republic. We're in the Caribbean, and I want to tell you about the incidents of colorism that I experienced. So one was always comparing my hair to white girls' hair. So there was another volunteer. Her name was Sarah, and we were assigned to the same house in the DR. So in the orphanage, there were about 15 houses. The houses were divided by gender and age. So there was the baby house, which would have children from ages 1 year old all the way to 5. They would have a toddler house. The baby house was unisex, but all of the other houses were divided by gender. They will also have the house that I was assigned to had girls that were 9 or 10 years old. There was a house that was the teenage house for girls or boys that were about 14 to about 18 years old. So there were various houses. So I and this volunteer, her name we'll just use for this video, was Sarah. So myself and Sarah, we were assigned to the house of girls that were about 10 years old. And they would compare my hair to Sarah's every single day. They're like, oh my God, Sarah's hair is so long. Her hair is so pretty, Maya. Your hair is nothing like Sarah's. They would do that all the time. A lot of times with the white girls, they would ask them can I take out your ponytail holder? Can I touch your hair? So they would let them take out the ponytail holder. They would play with their hair. They would, put their fingers in it. They would talk about how soft their hair is. So that was number one. My hair was always compared to white girls' hair because I was the only black volunteer. So they had to compare me to other volunteers. So it would be other white people. There was this German dude that was a volunteer, and I was interested in him. Girl, I was only 21, okay? I am no longer interested in German dudes, but at the time, I was interested in him. We were kind of talking. We were kind of dating. I don't know. And one time we were sitting out on the porch of the volunteer house, and we were talking, and he was like, Maya, I would really get with you, but it's the hair for me. I don't like the hair. And it was so hurtful to me because it's something I can't even control is the reason that this dude is not interested in dating me. And I've had experiences like that before. When I was in middle school, there was this guy that I was interested in. And this is the part how I'm a colorist. He was brown skin, but a little bit more light, lighter skin of the medium skin tones. And he had light eyes. He had green eyes. And I thought this dude was the finest thing on earth. Moving on. And he took me in the closet in middle school and was like, I know that you're interested in me. I'm interested in you too, but like you're not popular and so I can't date you. And he will go on to date people that had like long hair, that had lighter skin, that had light eyes. So I'm like, okay, he told me it's because I'm not popular, but it's probably because I have Afrocentric features. I don't have light eyes, I don't have light skin, and I don't have long hair. That is the conclusion that I got from that based off his dating preferences. Back to the DR. So also one time, so what they would do is that they would, the ayudante or like the helper of the house would style the girls' hairs every single week. Like it was a specific day, let's say Saturday. Every Saturday, the girls got their hair done and they hated it. And one of the reasons they hated it was because they really hurt these girls' hair. They were like trying to sleek down the edges. They were yanking the hair. They were like really trying to get the hair to be more assimilated. So it was really painful. The girls would have bruises all around the hairline from it being pulled too tight, things of that nature. So they hated that, getting their hair done. So one time the girls had Bantu knots. If you don't know what those are, you should look them up. They're a hairstyle that I think comes from African countries. And so they gave them Bantu knots and they specifically hated this style. They were like, this is so ugly. I hate wearing Bantu knots. So then I came up with the bright idea that I will forever regret. And I was like, let me get Bantu knots too, so that the girls can feel affirmed, so that they don't feel like they're the only ones with Bantu knots. Like I'll get them as well. So I put my hair in Bantu knots. We, the next day, went on an activity, and in the bus, it was a bunch of the kids, myself, and maybe like a tia, which were like the aunts of the house that would like take care of the house and stuff where the kids lived. And so we were on the bus. It was about 50 kids. And one of them goes, look at Maya's hair. It's so ugly. Even though I had the same hairstyle as the girls, the Bantu knots. And so then they compare my hair to like this rough meat, like a really tough meat in the DR that's like hard to cut and very hard to chew. And the nickname for that meat was called concon. So then they started a whole chant. They were like, Maya concon, Maya concon, pretty much saying that my hair was like ugly and it was like really rough and tough. And, you know, so then they made fun of me all the time. From that point forward, they would tease me every single day. At least one kid called me Maya concon every day. And then when I went back 7 years later, there were like about 3 of the kids that still called me Maya concon. So then there was the experience where they would beg me to straighten my hair all the time. Maya, when are you going to straighten your hair? Maya, your hair would look so much better if it was straight. There were so many like teenage girls and older women that had straight hair. Pretty much everybody's hair was straightened except the young girls. The young girls, they did their hair every single week, but from like ages 14 up, everybody's hair was straightened. Nobody was wearing a natural fro. Nobody was wearing natural hair. So this really peeved people off, the fact that I had the audacity to walk out here with natural hair. And then one time, one of the older girls, she might have been like 17, she braided my hair in the front, like you see right here, braids in the front. And then the back, I had it in an afro. And she was like, after she braided the hair, she said, you want to go somewhere and we can go and straighten it? And I was like, no, I just want to wear my fro. And then there was another time we had a whole celebration at the orphanage. It was like celebrating how many years the orphanage had existed. Everybody got all cute and was like looking good. And so I went to a few of them to the beautician because they were getting their hair straightened. And they were like, yeah, Maya, you need to come in here too and get your hair straight too. And I was like, I was just here to support you. I'm not here to get my hair done. And they were upset about that. So that is what I have to tell you about the DR. And this video is really to answer the question, should Black Americans visit or live in the Dominican Republic? And I have an answer for you. I would say yes, you should visit. It is important to see a place that is diasporically Black, to see places that people look like us. It is important to see those places in the world. You know, this is a big reason that a lot of us Black Americans want to go to Africa, so we can be with our people, so that we don't have to be the minority all of the time. So I think, yes, you should visit to see them. However, I will let you know, because of their history, they do not always identify as Black. They identify more as being Dominican. In the history of the Dominican Republic, the dictator Trujillo used to write in the textbooks that they were from India. Their ancestors are from India, not from Africa. So with that indoctrination, they did not identify as Black. They also have a contentious relationship with Haiti, who they share the island with. And at one point, Haitians tried to own the Dominicans. I don't mean like own like slavery or something like that, but specifically in the history, they were trying to colonize, that's a better word, colonize the Dominican Republic. And then also in the DR history, they had a Haitian massacre where they killed so many Haitians. They were running across the water that connects the Haiti to the DR so that they could escape being murdered. So there is a very contentious history between Haiti and the DR, and specifically the Haitian Revolution, which we love to talk about, how brave those Haitians were to stand at the front lines and go against France so that they could have their own country. And a lot of them were murdered, but they were able to have Haiti, to have Black people, Black Haitians, to be in charge of Haiti rather than to be colonized by the French. And so as a result, Haiti leans more into Afrocentric features and the history of Africa, and this is very important to them. So while I was in the DR, I got called Haitian a lot because I wore my hair naturally, and they associate things that are close to being African or Afrocentric as being Haitian. And then when I would talk and I would say I'm from the US, they're like, oh, okay. And then they would treat me better when they learned I was American and not Haitian. So there's a lot of history there. If you are interested in going to the DR, if you just go there for a short time, I don't actually think it would be that bad. If you're like on a resort and people are paid to treat you well, they probably won't be saying disrespectful things or things that are out of pocket. They'll probably be super kind to you. But if you live there, the more time you take there, the more you will see how anti-Black Dominicans can be, right? We also see this in the US with Dominican people not interested in identifying as Black or saying hurtful things about Black people. So overall, I would say, yes, you should visit, but I would say no to living there. Living there set me back for years. Like some of the stuff they said to me, I will never be able to forget as long as I live. I still have a sore spot with the DR, and I'm like taking a pause from visiting or really like interacting with people in the Dominican Republic because of that experience. So I also want you to know that 7 years later, when I went back to visit them, they still were like, why are you wearing your hair like this? And I had locks at the time, and they still thought that my hair was unattractive, and they still prioritized my white friend over me when I was there visiting them. So I will leave a video in the description box that is about anti-Blackness abroad, because it's not just the Dominican Republic that's anti-Black. It's not just the Dominican Republic where you can experience racism or colorism. It is global. But because I lived there for 6 months, that's why I'm giving you all the experience of that. So at this time, if you enjoyed this video and my honesty and vulnerability, please like this video right now. I need you to like this video. I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to heal by having this conversation. It is a very difficult conversation for me to have. Thank you for all those people that believed me. I know it seems like I just bash the Dominican Republic and I'm just a hater of the Dominican Republic. That is not true. I actually really love some of the Dominican people that I met. It were some of the kindest people I have ever met. Like outside of racial biases and colorism, super kind. Some of the people, I mean, just took me in. Some of them really like defended me when white people were bullying me. Some of them like wanted to have conversations with me. We talk on WhatsApp all of the time. They begged me to come back. There were a few of them that I will tell you that they said they felt more connected to me because we had the same skin tone than they did feel connected to white people. So there were a few incidents, or not incidents, but there were a few occurrences where I actually did enjoy the Dominicans. And I also kind of used a little bit of cognitive dissonance because I worked with children. And so like children know not what they say. Some of these children were 10 years old or younger. So I'm like, okay, they don't know how hurtful they are being by saying some of these things. So I kind of gave them a pass on that. And like I had mentioned to you, some of the Dominican people were extremely kind and extremely sweet. So healing. If you are a person that deals with texturism and deals with your hair being called ugly all the time, men are not interested in being with you because of your hair. You have to go to the beautician and they see you and they want to run, right? People have told you that you need to change your hair in this way, things that I have dealt with my entire life. Then there are some things we need to do to heal. One of the things I'm trying to do is being in community with other people who have also suffered from texturism. And texturism is the preference for wavier or looser hair textures than kinky hair textures, the mistreatment of kinky hair textures. So I'm trying to heal from that with the video. Also, you want to get around people that are not going to say hurtful things about your hair. I once dated a guy that said my hair was god awful. He literally said that to my face. And let me tell you, I've been told my hair was ugly to my face so many times. I can't even count anymore how many times I've been told that, right? People also feel emboldened because of how I look to tell me to my face that my hair is ugly. That happens to me all the time. And so you want to have a support group. I have people in my life that are like, your hair is beautiful. I really like your hair. I have a particular bestie. The first thing she ever said to me was that I love your hair. That was the first thing that they ever said to me. And I thought that was so incredibly sweet. And that person has continued on to compliment every hairstyle that I have. Every time my hair, I'm like, the hair is not looking good. And that friend is like, the hair is beautiful. So you want to make sure you have people like that in your life and not people that are going to say horrendous things about your hair texture and make you feel bad about it. Another way of healing is that I entered a colorism contest where we really talked about how hurtful colorism has been to us and how we are trying to heal from it. And so what I want to do is now read a poem to you all that I wrote about colorism and my healing. So my poem is called Dating While Dark. For 12 years, I was a brown-skinned girl. That was until my friend Reggie rocked my world. He called me dark-skinned, and I thought that was a little strange because right in that moment, my skin tone started to change. Now my medium brown had become dark brown, and I was the darkest girl in my hometown. At the age of 18 in college, I became known as dark skin, weave, and glasses to my class. Damn, you ugly, James proclaimed. That year, I avoided mirrors out of shame. After that, I felt rejected by the Black community, and white guys like Dan and Matt saw me as an opportunity. I was their 20-year-old fetish and token. I couldn't help but to feel hurt and broken. At the age of 24, this Black dude named Chris took a risk by publicly dating me. He yelled, grabbed, kicked, and slapped so that I would be afraid to flee. Leaving him by 27, I found peace in the arms of Shane. He was so kind and understanding that I felt no pain. Thank you for dating a dark-skinned woman, I stated. His smile beamed. He was sincere and elated. Then I woke up and realized that I needed to heal. Stop seeking male approval, reflect, and be still. I stopped dating men to focus on me. In my heart, I knew this was the beginning of my journey. Now, at 31 years of age, I have become so wise. Dark skin, natural hair, and brown eyes. That is how I describe myself. I don't need validation from anyone else. Single Black woman, I stand with my head held high. Dark skin as radiant and as vibrant as the sky. As an intelligent queer queen, I have a story to tell, relating to my sisters who know the pain of colorism all too well. So that is my poem. Thank you all for listening. I'm so happy I was able to be vulnerable and you all were able to learn about my experiences in the Dominican Republic. So now please comment below if you have visited the DR. Would you visit the DR? What has your experience in the DR been? Or if you haven't, what has your experience with Dominicans been in general? Please keep subscribing. We are doing amazing with the subscriptions. We are looking so good, y'all. We looking so good. Y'all be holding me down. And the final thing I want to tell you is about our next video. So right now we're doing our Asia series. I had a video where I talked about the 5 Asian countries I've traveled to: China, India, Thailand, Singapore, and Malaysia. And then I just did an interview with Dr. Davia, who has headed off to Thailand. She's leaving tomorrow to go to Thailand for an entire year. So our next video, we have Whimsically Brit, who is also a YouTuber, and she is going to grace our channel, and we're going to talk about Korea, Japan, and India. This is not going to be a live. It's just going to be a video where I interview her. So you'll be able to see that posted when it's all done. Again, thank you all so much for listening and validating, all the experiences that I have. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful August. And hopefully the next video you see of me by myself is talking about country 46 in Bolivia. Okay, I'll talk to you all later. Bye.